What's up, beautiful people? I'm Erin, and this is Erin on Demand. And today we are talking about how to make your content creation run like a seven-figure business. So let's get into it. Now, this video is for you if you are an aspiring content creator looking to make money out of content, or if you are an advanced content creator who is already in the swing of things, but you're ready to take it up to the next level. I'm gonna go through some tools I use, a big mindset shift I had to make, and also the entire process or schedule so that you can start implementing it and actually treating your content like a business. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, before we even get into all of the nitty gritty, you have to find your content style. This is the thing that is going to be your product. And when you start thinking about your content as something that you're selling, then you start to think about, okay, how am I going to make sure I'm consistently selling what my audience wants? Now, in finding your content style, a big part of that is in your editing, in the production of the actual content. And I love using Riverside as an editing tool. Now, this portion of the video is sponsored by Riverside, but your girl, I love using Riverside, not just for podcasts, but also just as a tool for my video content. So they have some really cool features that they've rolled out, and I'm honestly mind blown because for the longest, I thought Riverside was just for podcasts. And let me tell you, it ain't. So you can drag any type of video into Riverside and actually use their editor. And a few things that really make their editor stand out is, for one, you can get a full transcript of what you're saying. This is very helpful if you want to put closed captions on your YouTube videos, for example. You can also brand your video with your logo and customized captions. So you can make sure that the closed captions fit the vibe, like the font, the colors, that they all are cohesive with your branding. And this is really important in making your content run like a business, because having it branded so that when people are scrolling, they can quickly identify that this is a piece of your content. That's going to take your content up to the next level. Now, another feature I really love about Riverside is their silence remover. And I know for me, I don't always talk super fluidly when I am speaking to the camera. So I'll have big pauses in between sentences or in between talking points. And what Riverside does is there's a feature that can take those silences out, and you don't have to actually physically go in and manually edit them out. There's a way for Riverside to identify them and cut them out for you, which is so cool and saves you so much time in editing. And another super time saver feature is their teleprompter. Now, this is very convenient if you are someone who wants to kind of go by a script. Maybe instead of outlining your videos, you use a script and you load that script into the teleprompter, and it's right where the camera is, so it won't look like you're reading. I love this feature in Riverside. I think it's very convenient if you want to quickly get something done and you don't have time to memorize it. You just kind of want to make sure you're saying all the right things. Then the teleprompter feature is super clutch. So with that, a large part of treating your content creation like a business and actually scaling it into a business is finding these methods that help you save time. I mean, a few minutes here and a few minutes there all add up, and you can be using that time to do other things to pour into your business and make more money. So I love Riverside for that reason, and you can click the link in the description box to try Riverside for free. And you can use code ONDEMAND for 15% off if you upgrade to some of the paid plans. So thank you to Riverside for sponsoring this portion of the video. Okay, so now that you've got your content style out the way, you kind of have a flow with how you edit and all of those things, let's get into the big mindset shift that I had to make in order to really start thinking about content as a business. Now, I kind of mentioned it already, but thinking about your content like a product. You really are selling a lifestyle, you're selling information, you're selling something to people so that they can actually consume your content. Now, this isn't a traditional sale as is like if you're selling a product or selling a service in that way of business. But you really are selling yourself. You're selling your lifestyle when you are trying to convince people to watch a full piece of content. And so when you start thinking about it like that, it's like, okay, so what would make them watch? when you're looking at your content as a business, it's very important to understand the analytics and what's actually happening to each piece of content. And so that needs to be baked into your content creation process, going through, looking at your analytics, asking questions like, why did people like this video more than this one? Or what made this piece of content pop and not that one? Why did this one have such low engagement versus my other pieces of content that are similar? What am I talking about that people are engaging more with? Or is there a specific style that I'm, creating in that people seem to love more than others? So this is really important stuff. I think a lot of times we can get really caught up in what's trending, or we can get caught up in just the wrong things when it comes to content, of just trying to make it maybe look extra polished or extra perfect, but that might not be what your audience wants. And the only way you know what they want is if you look at the data. So it's really important to go into your analytics and kind of start to tailor make your content toward the evidence that shows what your community really likes already. So think about your content as if it is your product and that you're selling it. So that is the biggest mindset shift, is to stop thinking about your content as just content and actually think about it as something you are selling. Okay, now this is where we're going to spend the most time, is talking about how to actually plan out your content and schedule it and create processes around content creation. I highly recommend planning out your entire week at one time. So, when I say that, I mean actually planning out what you're going to do throughout each day for the entire week, and also planning out the entire week of content at one time instead of trying to create content on a whim. So if you sit down on Mondays and you make all of your outlines for all of the pieces of content, and then on Tuesdays you actually record. On Wednesdays, you actually edit maybe your long form pieces of content and maybe write your newsletter. On Thursdays, you edit down all of your short form content. And then maybe on Fridays is when you go in and schedule all of the posts for the next week. So whatever that content creation schedule looks like for you based on your own personal schedule, that is something that should be created, and you need to sit down and actually try to follow it. Now, this discipline is no joke. Like, it is not the easiest to really stick to it, especially when you're somebody creative. Like, I am a very creative person. So sticking to a schedule when it comes to content creation is very difficult for me. Like, I am on the whim kind of poster, but I know that if I do not do this, I'm not going to be consistent. So try to figure out some type of regimen for each day of the week and how you can dedicate time per day toward a different task for your content. And then the key is to block it on your calendar. So if you use Google Calendar, make a time block for creating content, like in all of these steps to the content creation process for yourself, so that you don't let the whole week slip by and realize that you actually haven't done anything. Okay, the next part of that is finding a task management system that works for you. I have tried them all. I've tried Trello, I've tried Monday.com, I've tried Asana, I've tried Notion, I've tried them all. The one thing that I do consistently do is I use my top 3 notebook like faithfully, and I really like to use this for my content planning process. So like when I was saying designating each day of the week, I have a weekly spread in the top 3 notebook, but I love to use Notion for task management, where I'm managing like my editorial calendar basically, and it helps me keep track of every piece of content, especially if you're trying to manage Instagram with YouTube and newsletter and podcast, and you've got all these different platforms you're creating for. Having a central location for all of them makes it so much easier. So I'm going to show you what the inside of my Notion looks like. As you can see, it's pretty simple. I don't try to do too much because I want it to be something that I actually use. So up here we have my Instagram/TikTok post log, where I log the posts that I want to do for that week. And in here I can pick, some of these I haven't done fully yet, but in here I can pick like which theme it goes toward. And then what the post type is, if I'm going to be promoting an Erin on Demand product in that, I'll select that as well. And then I write down the topic. So that's pretty much what I do for Instagram and TikTok. And then down here is my YouTube pipeline. It's a little bit more in depth. So what this is I can carry each thing into the next status once I have an idea and I actually want to go ahead and move forward with it. I'll put it into outlining. Once it's outlined and starts recording, I'll move it and drag it into each respective part of the process that it's in until it's all the way in schedule. So this video just got scheduled, so I'll put that over there. It's super helpful because it just makes my life a lot easier. So for example, you can go in here and you can see how in-depth each of these are in terms of all of the things that I have for myself to enter into these. Now, I'm not going to say I do this every single time, but it is nice to have it when you need a bird's eye view of all those types of content. If you're trying to balance different content buckets, I really like to have all of these fields. And then I will make my outline, and then I'll do like a title brainstorm. A lot of times I do this after the video is recorded based on what I feel is a strong title. So I'll do a little brainstorm. I also leave any notes in here for editing, the description box template, and then down here is where I can put what ways I want to repurpose, or if there's a timestamp in there that I want to extract for an Instagram reel or a TikTok, then that'll go down here as well. And then down here is just ideas for newsletters. I don't really plan these too far out. So by the week, I will plan out like, okay, what am I going to write about this week? So that's the Content Hub. I think it's really important to kind of find your flow with these and figure out what is going to work best for you so that you actually use it. Next thing, after you've gotten your editorial calendar and you have your task management system all set up, I think it's a great idea to create standard operating procedures. So that way, I know it sounds kind of like a lot, but these are basically just step by step, a place to keep all the steps for all of the things that you do. So for example, you might have a standard operating procedure on your camera settings. So if you're using your Nikon Z30, which is my favorite camera to use, then you're going to have, okay, if I'm making a YouTube sit down video, these are all the settings that I use on my Nikon Z30. And you're going to put that in the standard operating procedure. So that way, if you end up hiring a camera person, this is a document that you can give to them to let them know, okay, these are my, preferred settings on this camera. Or if you get a new camera and you forgot what the settings were set to, you can go back and make sure you have them consistent. So you can do that with anything. You can do that with how you repurpose your content. You can have a SOP for that. You can have an SOP for how you use Riverside to edit. Like, there are so many different things that you can do, and I like to use Loom for SOPs. So if it's something on the computer, then I like to use Loom for that, or you can just type it out as in like a Google Doc and save all of them. So that way, every single task that you have in your business has some type of documentation, so that this is what helps you be able to delegate things. So if you do hire someone on and you want to delegate a specific task to them, you already have basically an instruction manual to give to them. Another thing when it comes to being organized is keeping your files organized. And this goes for like your camera roll. This goes for your desktop, your laptop, your iPad, photos, like all of these things, keeping them organized, having different folders for different things. So if you love to time lapse yourself working, have a folder for that. If you love to create B-roll so that you can do like B-roll type reels, then create a folder for that. And that way you have everything kind of organized. So when it's time for you to actually create the content, you're not sifting through thousands and thousands of pictures trying to find this one specific thing, which, trust me, I know, because that's like how I do it, like so much of the time. So I'm preaching to the choir here when I say it's really important to start figuring out those systems to make the content creation process easier for yourself. Now, the setup can take some time. Like setting up a task management system, learning the ins and outs of new tools, and creating SOPs and doing all of these things. They take time to get started, but once you do them and implement them, they make your process and your business flow. And that's what we want. And I think this might be one of the most important parts of the video, but it's to engage with your community so that you actually know what kind of content they want. Now, of course, you can look at the data, like I stated earlier, but one of the best things you can do is to constantly be engaged with your audience. Ask them questions, read the comments, respond to the comments. Get a feel for where they are so that your content can meet them where they're at. Now, once you really start to grow in your business, it really is going to be important for you to hire a bookkeeper, for you to start hiring people to be able to manage the content creation process. You might have to hire a brand manager as well. These are things that come along. I know a lot of us are eager to get to that point, but these are the steps that you don't want to skip because they're going to make it so much smoother for you when it is time for you to hire someone or delegate or hire an assistant. You're going to actually know what tasks to pass off to them. Now, you really won't need a bookkeeper. I guess just to go over some of the other logistics. You won't need a bookkeeper or someone to really manage your finances that granular until you're actually making some real money. So if you're making money from AdSense, you're making money from brand deals, you're making money, maybe you have a digital product and you're getting continuous business with those things, then yes, highly recommend hiring a bookkeeper because at that point you are going to want to make sure you're paying your taxes properly. You have your business filed in the proper entity. So you might want to have a CPA as well. You might need an attorney if you want to start trademarking your brand name, if you want to trademark different slogans and things that you say, if you want to start an apparel line, like all of these things. Now we're talking business. If you want to hire a brand manager, you're going to have to be making consistent money from brand deals. You don't just hire a brand manager and they're giving you all the deals. You have to already be making money from brands. And I have a whole video on brand deals breaking down the entire process. So I will link that down below as well. But these are things that you start to realize, okay, now my content is becoming a business. I have to hire a bookkeeper. I have to hire a manager. I have to hire an assistant. And you have tasks that you can delegate and it starts to really kind of snowball. So it can happen really fast. I'm telling you, so many content creators look up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. I just wanted to create great content and now there's this business aspect to it and I don't really understand it." And I'm telling you, these are ways that you can start to proactively treat it like a business so that when things do pick up, you aren't shocked and left unprepared. Okay. And if you are in that boat where you're like, "Oh my God, I feel shocked and unprepared," I will leave some resources down below for, management and bookkeeper, the things that I've mentioned, so that if you are like, "That's where I'm at, I need those resources," I will leave them down below for you, as well as Riverside information. If you want to try Riverside, please make sure you click the link in the description and take advantage of that coupon code as well. All right, you guys, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if it was and if you want to see anything else from me regarding this specific topic, okay? I love you guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.